as we think about like the next generation of like how do we succeed, there has to be a balance between team members and guests. You cannot lose focus. In my mind, you cannot lose focus on either one of them.
I'm a big customer advocate fan, so I always say customer first, because if you don't have revenues, if you don't have customers, then none of the other stuff matters. But you're right, there is that balance where you have to, because if the employees are not happy, then yeah, you get a lot of customers, but you're going to lose them because the employees aren't treating them well. Today we're going to talk about another great topic about digital transformation. So everyone's talking about digital transformation, especially after obviously the pandemic area. Everyone's moving more and more into digital. So the conversation today is, should the customer come first or should the team member come first? Again, today we're joined by Pankaj Patra. He's the current CIO of Brinker, managing about 1,600 locations, so he should have a really good perspective on this idea. And without further ado, thank you for coming on again, Pankaj. And
thank you for having me again.
Let's drill into that. So, digital transformation: customer first, employee first, team members first.
So let me start with this. Like, have you ever ridden a bicycle with one tire?
I do wheelies.
How long can you do it?
Well, yeah, that's. I was hoping you don't ask that, but
right. Like, but it's an interesting topic. Like when we think about digital transformation and we think about like should guests come first or should team members, I think it's a balance, right? It's like basically two wheels of a bicycle, right? Yeah, you can do a wheelie and probably survive for 5 minutes, right? Focusing on one, but it's not for the long haul, right?
Yeah.
If I have to tell you like, hey, you have to compete in a race, and you say like, oh, I can do wheelie and go, you won't be able to, right?
Sure.
So the reason I bring that up is that when I look at digital transformation, I want to make sure that, okay, I'm making it easy and convenient for the guests, but I would also make it easy and convenient for my team members, because we at Chili's and Maggiano's, we have close to 65,000, 70,000 team members who are our frontline ambassadors for our guests, right? So when a guest comes into our restaurant, we have to make sure like these team members are also having a good experience, have a smile on their face to be able to take care of the guest. And if I'm not able to provide that convenience and make it easy to work in the restaurant, they are not going to work in the restaurant, right? Like there are so many other options they have today. So I feel like there is a balance. And again, like it may lean on one or the other depending on like your priorities a little bit, but like if you lose focus on one of them, like I can tell you, like you're going to struggle.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because I'm a big customer advocate fan, so I always say customer first, because if you don't have revenues, if you don't have customers, then none of the other stuff matters. But you're right, there is that balance where you have to, because if the employees are not happy, then yeah, you get a lot of customers, but you're going to lose them because the employees aren't treating them well. So the environment has to be stress-free. The technology has to work. It has to make the life of the server easier. So yeah, I see that perspective as well.
So how many times do you call a 1-800 number and then yell at, like, I want to talk to an agent, I want to talk to an agent. And if that agent, right, who is basically like, whatever the problem you have, if that agent doesn't like his or her job, right, doesn't care about you, right, has the least interest to be in the job, then are you going to be happy?
Oh, interesting. So now you're tilting. You're saying team member first, because once they're really good, and actually, it brings me to Ritz-Carlton. So Simon Sinek had one of his talks I was listening. He's like, hey, I went to 2 hotels, same employee, or went to a hotel, employee was working there, asked him, how do you like your job? And he's like, oh, I love it here. And got into a conversation. He's like, oh, I work at this other hotel, but I hate it there. And it's like, same employee, 2 hotels, why? And he said, well, here the manager comes in and says, hey, how is everything going? They're genuinely interested. They're making the environment better. So even though, I'm maybe getting paid less, etc. here, but I enjoy this one because I'm treated better. So I guess there's a different perspective on the back end, but it has to be like, I guess, a really balancing it should be really difficult.
And again, I think absolutely there has to be a balance, right? Like you have to focus on guest, customer. You have to focus on team members, employees, right? You cannot lose focus on either side.
Sure.
And think that hey, you'll be successful. At least I firmly believe that it'll be really challenging to succeed in this marketplace, no matter which industry you are in.
Yeah.
Without focusing on both of them. But I think the way I look at it, right? So take the example of like we talk about personalization, right? A lot in the digital space. How do I personalize the guest experience, right? So the guest has provided you some information. You take that data. You basically try to give them an awesome experience, right? But when you take that example and then now you want to extend, like the guest is walking into the restaurant, the team member needs to know about it.
Sure.
Right? If the team member doesn't know about it, it breaks the experience for the guest. Now, I cannot have the team member go and like, hey, Hamad is walking into my restaurant, let me go find this information from somewhere. It has to be readily available.
Sure.
It has to be at their fingertips, and they should know everything about the guest walking in.
Sure.
Right? So that's where like, hey, I have to provide a system, whatever you want to call it. I want to provide them a way to be able to know that. And that's the digital transformation I'm talking about from a team member perspective. So if you think about like restaurant industry and the average age of the team members who are working, right? They are probably in that same millennial or Gen X group, right?
Yeah, late teenagers,
right.
Yeah, early 20s.
They basically like, everybody pulls up like their phone to do something.
Sure.
If I tell them that, hey, you have to go find a computer to be able to find your paycheck so that you can submit that for somewhere, they're like, what the hell is this, right? So those are the kind of things which you need to start thinking about, right? Like, so that's why I believe like, as we think about like the next generation of like, how do we succeed, there has to be a balance between team members and guests. You cannot lose focus. In my mind, you cannot lose focus on either one of them.
I agree. That makes sense because you have to be able to, you have to create that great environment, stress-free, etc. Which actually, now that you're saying that, a couple of things came up. One is, we had a customer that their employees told them, my internet at home is faster than the internet here at the store, and we're like a $3 million restaurant. So how is it that we can't afford it, but I can at home?
Correct.
So that forced the brand to literally just completely upgrade their connectivity circuit. Or, you know, like internet outages, like it puts a ton of stress on the staff. Now it's like there's so many options that you could prevent that from happening. So I think it's these preventables that must be prevented.
Correct. And I think the idea again goes back is that if you think about like, hey, like how can I control the experience of a guest outside the restaurant, and then when they come into the restaurant, it doesn't matter because my team members are going to take care of it, and you don't provide that ability to the team members
to do that. Yeah.
I can tell you like 9 out of 10 times you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Maybe there is an amazing team member somewhere who is probably like so good in his or her job that they will be able to take care of it, work through all the challenges.
Sure.
But that's not like the general population, right? Like, so that's where you have to start thinking about like, how do I start bringing both sides together? You gave the example of internet, right? Like, so if you think about like the circuit which is coming into the restaurant and the slowness of that, if you have a system which runs on Wi-Fi and the team member is not able to operate that when a guest is in front of them, like how stressful is that?
Yeah.
Right? The guest is like, oh my God, these guys don't know anything and or are not able to do their job, but it's not the team member's fault. Like, it's the systems, it's the technology, it's the thing which we should enable to be able to not put our team members in that kind of situation. And once I'm able to do that, then you think about like, okay, if I'm able to do that, like now they have a smile on their face. If they have a smile on the face, like you would love to interact with them.
Of course,
right?
Yeah, they treat them
like,
better.
Do you go to a restaurant where it's like the guys or the team member is so grumpy and you still have a good experience?
Sure.
Most of the time the answer would be no. Yes, again, once in a while, like depending on the situation, the answer may be yes, but most of the time the answer is going to be no.
Of course. Yeah.
So that's where it starts, like with thinking about like how do we do some of these things.
Yeah. And actually, and also in that situation, you're directly impacting the paycheck of that employee because they're on tips.
Correct.
So now the customer's like, well, these guys sure as heck don't know what they're doing, and they're blaming the server, and now the server is going to get a 10% tip or no tip. Why? Because the Wi-Fi system failed at the store. So that's a very good point, because it's the obligation of the business to provide. I always say, I learned this from somebody else that said, look, you have to give the right tools to your employees in order for them to do a job. If they have a screwdriver, you can't ask them to, nail a nail.
Or
like,
cut
that's
a tree.
not going to work. What's
Or
that?
cut a tree with a screwdriver.
Yeah, exactly. Or
Right.
yeah.
So
I
give the
guess it's
example of, like,
possible, yeah, but
I gave the
painful.
example of like, hey, take a pair of scissors and try to cut a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
So,
not meant for that.
Yeah, it's
right?
not meant for that. Yeah,
So-
right tool. And I say to that tune, I say there's a professional for every profession. So you gotta really like, you have to embrace the technology. You can't ignore it.
Right.
And this digital transformation at this stage is a freight train. If you try to stand in its way, it's gonna run over you, and
Yeah.
you won't even feel it.
And I think again, so we talked a lot about the in-restaurant team member, but let's take the example of above restaurant, right? Like so my team, right, which is supporting 1,200 restaurants, 1,300 restaurants on a daily basis. So I have a service desk, which basically like you can call in for like issues and all those things. If I don't provide that service desk with the right kind of systems to be able to manage their job, then the restaurant operator who is calling the service desk is not going to be happy, which means that if he's not happy and he's not able to do, the guest who is walking to the restaurant is not going to be happy. So there is a cascading effect of this, right?
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to like, if we think about like the team member side and we think about the guest side, a lot of focus has been put on like digital transformation on the guest, and for the right reasons. Like,
Sure.
I'm
well,
not
again, yeah,
challenging
the
that.
guest is critical because it drives revenue, and
Oh,
the more
absolutely.
money, I say, if money can fix a problem, then you don't have a problem. But if you don't have money, then you have a serious problem. So,
Right, but-
number one is fix the top line revenue. But if you pour fire and bring in a ton of customers, the guest is not happy, internet is down, the Wi-Fi device isn't working, the technology stack is not set right, it crushes you.
Yeah.
It further crushes you at twice the pace.
And I think about like, so there are like, if you think about it, right? Like, so you have the top of the funnel where you basically advertise to bring guests into your restaurants. They have an experience where like they are going to come back to your restaurant. Like with the approach which we just talked about, right? Like if you want to just drive like one-time visit, oh, absolutely, you can bring in, they'll come
Yeah.
in, they'll spend something, but you're not going to get repeat
Get a
visits
repeat,
because you basically missed when they were there, which you had a captive audience for 45 minutes to an hour, and you missed that boat, right?
Yeah.
Because you were not able to give your team the right tools to be able to continue that experience.
Which actually goes back to the 70% of restaurant customers only visit the restaurant one time. So maybe like all these are just adding up to that. So the guest is coming in, they're getting the first impression, and it's not very good, so they don't come back. And it's
Right.
like, and then retention, as we know, retention is a major problem in the space. Not just customer retention, but employee retention.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And those two actually now go hand in hand. So I think that's actually a very interesting topic of how do you balance the two, and once you figure out that happy medium, balanced medium between the two, then who's going to compete with you?
And I think it is doable, right? Like there are a lot of players who are doing it well. May not be as much in our industry, but like outside our industry.
Yeah.
But also in our industry, like there are a lot of players who are doing it well, right? And I think the ones who are going to succeed in the longer run would probably be the ones who probably focus on both of them. And again, it's doable, right? Like
Sure.
there is absolutely a way you can balance it out and still make a big dent in whatever you want. Like whether you want to drive top line revenue, you want to optimize your bottom line, you can think about all that. Like that's all possible. But I think the mindset of like, hey, should I focus on guests or should I focus on team members? I would say like that
Both.
mindset has to change. That hey, I have to focus on both,
Agreed. Yeah.
and then you balance it out, right?
Sure, yeah.
So
I agree. I think again, so even internally, what we're doing is American Express or Ritz-Carlton model. Like I think they've crushed both sides, because one thing that I learned, I was watching this thing about how Ritz-Carlton treats obviously their customers, but then they treat their employees exactly the same way. So they call them gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, and da da da. So like literally they're treating the customer and the employees exactly the same. And I think that mindset goes a long way, because it may, and most people aren't worried. Like if you say, hey, I'm sure a portion of people, interesting fact to go dig in more, that says, hey, I'll pay you more, work at a crappy cultured company, pay you less, work at an amazing company. And I personally actually have done this, where I've gone way above and beyond and done things that I should not have done, or was not part of my scope, but I did it because I wanted to be involved with that brand. You know, just
Right.
because I wanted to do business with them, and it was amazing experience to just kind of interact with their executives and everything. I did things that if you would just come up to me and say, hey, do this, be like, no way, why would I do that, right?
So more money, crappy culture, reasonable, less money, good culture. Like, so let's go back to our previous example, which I said, like, I look at that like you're saying that, hey, I can do heavily. It's a very short-term thing,
Yep.
right? You can probably figure it out, like, hey, money is not the end of all, right? Like, it's not going to keep you happy. Like this other culture, where the culture is good and all those things, that's where like the game is actually played. That's the one where it's a long-term, sustainable, successful model.
Yeah.
Rather than like, hey, I'm going to do it freely, and like it seems really interesting. Few people click pictures and all those things, but it's very short-lived.
Yeah, it just won't last. Yeah, and then obviously retention is a huge problem in the restaurant space, and I think this will. So we say, look, top line revenue will fix the most important part for the employee, because if you, by you increasing your sales and revenue on a 15% tip rate, just do the math. Your employees will automatically get paid more without you paying them more.
Right.
But also to create the environment and put the culture on top of that, I think that makes a huge impact. And that will help you resolve that retention model. Because obviously retention is expensive. Getting new customers is really expensive. Getting new employees is even more expensive.
And you have to train them. So there is a cost of like that's basically like hire and all those things. But I think you brought up a good point also, is like, hey, this whole idea of like you're expecting your team members to be able to do upsell, cross-sell, or you're expecting your team members to be able to refill the drinks, like small things, right? But if I don't think about like, okay, how do I make it easy for them to be able to know when a table number 24 has like needs refill in the drink, or like, hey, table number 25 is towards the end of their experience, I need to go and ask for like if they want to have dessert or something before they leave. Like, it's going to be really difficult for them to be able to manage that, right? So that's where like we have to provide them systems to be able to do that. And if they're able to do that, the guest is going to have a experience where they are probably going to tip more, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, if they tip more, it goes to the team member, they make more money, like the guest is happy because they got an awesome experience, the team member is happy because they are making more money, they have the systems to be able to, so it's like, then you start talking about like a unison where like everybody is basically marching towards the same thing.
Well said, like perfectly said, because yeah, I agree. And once you get this whole ecosystem going, then it just keeps going around in a circle. And
Right.
and I always tell, like when I'm talking to restaurant owners, I tell them, I'm like very upfront, I'm like, look, your team member doesn't want to work 2 jobs. They're not doing it because they love doing it. They're doing it because you're not providing them enough wages, resources to just have a decent living. So it's your obligation to increase your revenue, because you're in a tip service, you're like tip industry, right?
Correct.
So the more you increase your revenues, now that employee's making more money, they don't have to work a second job. Now they're fully dedicated to you and they're making a career out of that. And then embrace the rest. Like some people, like teenagers come and go, just embrace that fact. Don't fight it, right?
And the operators also win. Like if I have a restaurant of my own, I would love to make more money.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going
yeah, exactly.
Why wouldn't I? Like that's why I'm keeping my doors open, right? And if I make more money, like the team members are making more money. So everybody, this is a win-win-win kind of situation.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to the fundamental of that. Like, hey, if you have to really create this win-win-win and a culture of like, hey, you care and all those things, you have to care about both, right? You have to care about your guest and you have to care about your team members. Yeah. You cannot like just care about one and neglect the other and hope the results are going to be there.
So last topic on this, LMS, training, what do you think, what role does that play with the digital transformation and moving, shifting everything and being able to train? Because from my perspective, from outsider looking in, it's like you're hiring 50 people, 6 months later, half of them are there, 12 months later, all are gone. The first guy that trained the second guy, that trained the third guy, and it's like, what am I drinking again?
Right.
So what do you think their role is there, and how do you think that LMS course and taking that idea on, and what role is it going to play going forward?
I think you have to. So LMS plays a really important piece in this whole thing. But again, I don't have a solve for this. But like I think, how does LMS evolve to be able to meet the changing needs of the team members, right? As you said, right? Like if I go ask you to take a course and you basically do it, or a module and you do it, and then probably like 5 days after that you're like, okay, what was step 2, what was step 3? So it's like the retention of that is really I don't think it's there, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise you would have seen it. But having said that, like the whole idea of like, how do I train, how do I provide the resources to the team members so that they can be like, it's easily accessible for them to know, like if they are trying to find out like, okay, how do I do this step 2, like they don't have to go back to a manual. So that's where again, like technology can play a huge part through their digital transformation to be able to provide this information to the team members so that they can do their job. So LMS has a huge part to play. The way it is structured today, is that the right way, or is it going to be something different, is something which we should think about.
To be seen, yeah. Okay, very interesting topics. I think I've kind of shifted a little bit. So yes, customer first, but right very closely behind it, employees next. But I mean, obviously both have to be hand in hand. But I think once you solve, if anybody, and again, it's doable to your point, but you increase revenue, all the money problems go away. Now you got to focus on the culture, figure out how to aspire to be in that Ritz-Carlton category and just treat employees and customers the same. Give them that culture, give them that experience that they would enjoy coming to work and just not have to deal with all the stresses and everything. And I think as a restaurant owner, it's the obligation of the business owner to remove all those barriers and give them the right tools to be successful at doing their job. And if they do that, then again, yeah, win, win, win. Customer wins, employees win, you as the restaurant owner win, and if everybody's making more money, no one should be complaining. So
yeah, and I agree. And again, I don't know if I would agree with you that guest first, and I would say like again, they are both important.
Yeah.
And both of them we need to look at it like equally. Yeah, again, priorities, like whether we have to do a guest capability first or a team member capability, I'm not arguing that.
Sure.
I think again, it's like there are two critical cogs in the whole wheel for the wheel to function properly. Sure. Or like two wheels of the bicycle for the bicycle to work properly.
Well, I think if you look at it in actually a triangle, customers, employees, food. That's it.
Right.
So you just got to figure those 3 pieces out, and then once you get the 3 pieces figured out, then you're good to go. And a lot of restaurants are doing a hell of a job on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you
it's
know,
doable.
some are, yeah.
And that's where I said, like, it's absolutely doable, right? It's absolutely doable. Like, there is no, like, it's not like, hey, we cannot focus on both and like hit both the balls out of the park, right? Like, it's absolutely doable. It's just a mindset shift, and I think that's where we have probably, like, sometimes we neglect one side because of the other. and in the long run, you have to basically pay the price for that,
Yeah,
right? That's
agreed.
where I'm a firm believer on that. Like, I don't know, like, again, I've seen that through my experience, and I think once we are able to do both of them well, I think it basically gives you a much higher probability of success
Agreed,
than focusing on one.
Well, it comes from a man who's managing 65 to 70,000. The 5,000 difference is like, it's like the size of a whole company or a whole restaurant operations. But thanks for the insight. I'm sure that a lot of people will find this helpful, valuable, and it's a topic that I hadn't actually discussed because I'm always on the customer side, but opens my eyes to a new perspective. So I learned something new today too. So
Awesome.
Thanks for joining the
Absolutely.
podcast. And,
Thanks for having me.
being here.
And again, like, I think I probably have brought you a little bit closer to the idea.
Agreed,
of
because
like, okay.
initially I was like, 90-10, I'm now on like a 50-50 line.
Okay,
so,
awesome.
but
Thank you.
Thanks for everyone for tuning in. I hope that you found the content helpful and you can take some of these ideas and implement it in your own restaurant and focus on what's going to drive your business forward and be more successful.